function of the one is not
Hey guys, I'm building this little app that allows you to highlight for now stuff on the screen. And I'm going to take you on a journey into how I developed it, the little interaction and stuff, all through GPT. So I'm a base level coder, and GPT brought my level to super coder level. I built this in a couple hours in a sprint, no breaks. And I'm going to run you through the recordings I have of this sprint, how I built a Chrome extension like this in a couple hours that allows you to do stuff. And it's only the beginning of this extension, by the way. I will show everything in the progression of what we're doing with this. It's going to be very interesting. I think you'll love it. I'm not showing too much for now of what it will be in the end product, but it's going to be very exciting. So showing you on the journey. All right, so I just explained to GPT what I'm trying to do here, and it tells me the different apps, the different files I need to create. This is a time lapse, right? I'm going to put it in faster. But the whole idea is that it asks you to create a couple files. All right, so at this point here, I created my basic extension, which is basically a folder with different files. You just drag and drop it into your extensions folder, and it appears right here. And so now I'm just trying it out. Boom. And it does nothing, of course, because GPT is not perfect in itself, right? You need to ask a lot of questions to it as well to understand what it needs. And so it takes a ton of time to do that. So also one thing to note is that I've designed a set of icons, which is mostly based on the Loom interface. If you know the software Loom, I thought that was very clean the way you drag the toolbar. So I designed this one, right? And it's designed in Figma, which is, I tried exporting it in PNG and asked it to recreate it, which it flopped. I also exported in SVG, and so asked it to use the SVG into its code. But it had a lot of problems. The exported SVG was not in the right way for it to understand it and use it in the perfect way, so we had to do a lot of back and forth. See, I'm writing here like it's supposed to look like this, but it's not looking like this, and trying to help GPT understand what I'm trying to do, right? So Figma lets you export as SVG, but also as CSS, so I tried to export both and give it to Chat GPT to figure it out, but it was hard. So right now we are still in the designing phase, right? Testing out a couple hundred times. Right now it started working, but as a pop-up, not on the page. So I tried to explain GPT, and we're progressing step by step like this, going back and forth, back and forth. So a lot of what you're seeing right now is going back and forth with GPT, trying to understand why it shows up as a pop-up only and in a square that you cannot do transparency in. And it's different limitations that I don't even know because I'm not an extension coder, right? So it's figuring out stuff along the way with GPT. Turns out it tells me that you can see the console in a separate tab and stuff like that. I don't even know, right? So that's why it's really interesting that GPT brings your level of coding skills to the next level. All right, so now GPT understood that I'm trying to do something draggable. The handlebar is starting to work. Here, as you can see, we can start to drag the handle. Of course, the button are not clicking, and it's a ton more work, but still, it's draggable, which is a lot of progress since I don't know about dragging and dropping stuff in Chrome extensions. I'm trying to create a structure here because GPT didn't create really the right structure for me to be able to use the different parts of the toolbar. So we still have to think, right? GPT doesn't do everything for us, but it's the back and forth with GPT that helps us to figure out stuff. So here is the important part. I reached the limit of Chat GPT Plus cap for GPT-4. As you can see below, it says you've reached the current usage cap for GPT-4. You can continue with the default model now or try again after 4:32 p.m., which was 3 hours after the time it was in the video. So actually, from this moment on, I only worked with the dumber version of ChatGPT, which is a 3.5 in this case. And you will see it makes a huge difference. So from now on, we are working with one missing leg. By the way, the limit is actually 50 messages per 3 hours for the GPT-4 on the GPT Plus normal package. And so, as you will see in the next like hours after this, I'm working with the GPT 3.5, and it's really dumb compared to the other one. So it ran me to different paths that actually ended up being dead ends, and I lost a lot of time. All right, so I'm now trying to understand if it actually works to highlight stuff, right? Which is one of the core thing of our application, but it's still not working. And with only GPT 3.5, I'm starting to really become angry at it because it's not really solving our problems. But truth is, even 3.5 codes better than I do, so you cannot be mad. All right, we're still doing a lot of back and forth with GPT saying this doesn't work, try something else, and it gives us the exact same thing because it's GPT 3.5, and we start to get crazy, right? And we continue with this cycle. All right, so I switched my computer from sitting to the standing desk, and I had to rewire stuff, and I didn't realize that it stopped recording. It froze like 2 hours or more than 2 hours of footage from there. So I have to go to the next video. All right, we are now in the next video. As you see, we've done a lot of progress in between because there are actually 2 hours and a half missing footage. So as you can see, we can now highlight stuff. The application, the toolbar is moving. The highlights are actually like custom CSS that are dynamic. So it makes it a sexy highlight, which is not the basic highlight, of course, at all. So now it's just a matter of correcting a few bugs, trying to make the app as seamless as possible, adding a couple detail, animation, and details. Now I'm trying to understand the different filters that are SVG filters on the toolbar, like glow effect, which SVG filters, if you know them, it's actually pretty complicated compared to normal CSS effects, which are totally not the same. So I tried different tools to figure it out, but yeah, ended up doing as simple as possible. Because as you can see in Figma, actually, I'm using a filter, which is the filter that gets exported when I export it as SVG. And that is one of the reasons it ended up in my whole thing. Here we're trying to make it work in dark mode as well, trying to have that as a sexy highlight in dark mode, right? Because at least my computer switches to dark mode in the evening. I know a lot of people do as well. And I want it to be a seamless integration into that. So this whole time, the application shows up immediately when it's a new page. And right now I want to switch all that to when you click the button only it shows up, right? Because otherwise it's a bit disturbing. So this whole time it was like this. And now it takes around like 40 minutes or so, even a bit more, to figure out with GPT 3.5, which is also important to mention, figure out how to communicate with all the scripts, because in Chrome extension, there's like a background script, there is a content script, which is the main script that we insert into the page, whatever. And GPT had a hard time understanding itself around communicating between these different parts. So I'm still arguing with GPT. Not sure if you got it, but there should be no pop-up showing up, etc., etc. So by this time, the GPT-4 limit actually ran out. So turns out I can use GPT-4 again. So I tried a new conversation. It wouldn't have the context, which is a bad thing. But I think to myself at this point, like it cannot get worse than GPT 3.5 for this situation. So I'm going to ask GPT-4, even if it doesn't have the same context. I think it's better. And it turns out it is. So it solved my issue. I also added a little animation. When it shows up, it goes a little smooth, which is all CSS only. And yeah, at this point, it's solved. The application shows up. You can drag it. You can highlight stuff. And yeah, that's it. We reached this point. You can have it leave, have it come back. That's it. So it's a success. So yeah, the whole thing took me 6 hours of straight up coding. And that's how I created this little app. And that's only like V1. The goal is much higher with this app. It's not, there's no need to create a new highlighter app, right? It's only the beginning. It was actually like a proof of concept, just to see if I could build something credible in a couple hours. And with GPT, I could. So that's a bit of a demonstration. I hope it inspires you to create tools as well. If you have any questions of how to help GPT help yourself, just send me a comment, a DM, anything. I read everything, I reply. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to see you in the next video. And until then, bye-bye.